welcome back. My name is Deepa from DeeZinesByD, and today I have another Scrappy Tails post for you. Now, this card uses the paper pad, the J'adore paper pad, which was released in the last collection, and I'm also using some of the beautiful florals from the last collection, along with a few from past collections, to make this gorgeous card. I just felt that this color scheme worked so perfectly, and really wanted to make something floral with it. So as I mentioned, we're using the Scrappy Tails paper pad. You can see it has a bunch of great backgrounds, and I always forget. You can always enhance your backgrounds, which I'm going to show in a second. We're going to be using these foil plates. These are the sentiments, and then we've also got the perfume bottle set here. I'm going to be using the floral dies from there. And I'll be using that embellishment set. So first things first, let's grab our pattern paper. And I'm grabbing that Fleur-De-Lys, that beautiful, I don't know, I guess you would call it like a teal colored cardstock. Now I'm cutting it down to the size I want, and I'm making an abnormal card. So it's not like any specific card size right now. I think I cut it down to about 4.5 by 6 because the papers are 6 by 6. Now, to step this panel up a bit, I really wanted the color to be a bit deeper, so I'm using some Galactic Stream Ultra ink and my ink blending brush just to darken the edges of this panel. And you can see that it really just makes it stand out a little bit more. So don't forget, you can always use ink to maybe change the color of your cardstock or use them in different ways. Now here are all the little dies from the A7 perfume bottle set. And I've got these different colored cardstocks that I'm going to be using to cut those out with. I've also got this garden set, which came out last year. It's got a nice floral frame, but it also has these small little flowers, which are what I want to use for this card. And I'm basically going to cut all of these out. Now, for ease of viewing, I've cut everything out ahead of time. I've got those 2 peach cardstocks for the main flowers, some greens for the leaves. I've cut out the bow and the flower centers from some gold cardstock, and then those cute little flowers from that release from last year were cut out in plain white, just to make all of the other colors pop. I find that adding something in white just really makes everything else that's, vibrantly colored just stand out a bit more. So now I'm going ahead and I am putting these flowers together. I've shown this in a previous video. They're very simple to put together. You've got 2 dies that are closed dies, so they're not open. You can't see through them. Those 2 work to make 1 flower, and then there are 2 open dies which work to make the second flower. So they're very easy to figure out what goes with what and how it goes together. It all is very not hard at all. So once I've got the layers put together, for this larger flower, I just glue on the center, and for the first smaller or more closed flower, I tend to use a foam square just because it sits on the flower a little better. And so everything is kind of, put together, but I do want to add an extra element of dimension. And to do this, I'm going to be using my stylus tool. So I've got my Susan's Garden tool set. So this is from Spellbinders. And you can use this for any type of flower to shape it and give it a more realistic or dimensional look. So here you can see I'm using that small stylus tool and I'm shaping my flower, and you see that difference between the flat flower and the shaped flower. It is nice and cupped. It's going to sit a little higher off your card, and it's just going to have a gorgeous, stunning look to it. So all I'm doing is I'm just rubbing the back of that flower with the stylus tool. So that's that little ball tool. And then I turn it upside down and I'll push down in the center of the flower to have the petals pop up. Now for the larger flowers, we've already assembled them. I probably should have done this before assembling, but I kind of just thought about adding that dimension afterwards. I'm just rounding the edges of the petals. So I'm putting that little ball stylus tool on the edges of the petals, and then I'm just kind of pushing down in the center. I don't want to ruin my foiling too much, so I'm trying not to use the ball that much. And I'm just kind of bending it. So what we like to call zhuzhing up your little flower with your hands, just to give it that bit of a flowy and more dimensional look. So once I'm done with the flowers, the leaves are pretty easy. So I put them upside down and I'm just rolling the back of them with the stylus tool. And then I'm just going to press down at the very bottom of the petal just to give it a bit more of depth and have the petal stand out a bit, or the leaf stand out. Now I'm also rounding out the little bow here. And I did not quite piece this together properly. So I'm actually cutting off the little edges. There are pieces within the set where you can cut those out and just glue them on top, but I cut out each layer from the wrong color. So this was my way to fix that. So you can see these are the two little pieces that you can use to actually cut out and then stick on the edges here. So yeah, I'm just kind of doing this backwards. So I cut off those edges instead because I have the white piece, and then I want to stick them on the gold piece here. Again, I'm using some foam squares there to give it a bit of dimension because I want this card to be all about dimension, even though it is a flat card. So that bow is done and everything else is pretty much shaped. So it's just a matter of, creating a sentiment and putting it on the card. Now for my sentiment, I'm using these large foil plates, which are gorgeous and perfect for this. I'm using the rectangle sentiment here, and I'm going to be using the coordinating die to cut that out. I foiled it ahead of time with some Spellbinders pewter foil. And as you can see, that pewter foil has a bit of like a black tone to it, which works perfectly with this color scheme. So that's part of the reason why I didn't use the silver. I didn't want the silver to kind of stand out too much. With the black, it kind of it has a bit more of a flat look, which is what I was going for. So in this case, you could also use their black foil or the black matte foil. Anything like that would work. So I've gone ahead, I foiled that ahead of time. I'm now cutting it out with the coordinating die, and you can see it looks stunning. So I'm going to add some foam circles to the back of this sentiment and place it right in the center of my cardstock panel. And actually, just as this is, it looks stunning. And I have to say that adding that extra bit of ink to the edges of the panel really make a huge difference. It darkens the cardstock just a little bit, which allows these lighter colored flowers to just kind of pop off of the background. And I think that, adding that ink to your cardstock or your pattern paper really, can just step up your project a little bit. It's completely up to you, but I love it. So I'm adding my flowers here. I'm doing that with some foam adhesive, and I find that adding an odd number works best. So I've got 3 in the bottom and then 2 at the top there. You can see when I add the 6th, it just doesn't look right. It's not as pleasing to the eye, and it's just a common rule in art and aesthetics. You want odd numbers to kind of make, I don't know what it is, it just looks better. So I'm just going to leave it at 5. I'm kind of deciding where I want my bow to go here, and I'm going to add it up in the top left corner there with those 2 flowers. So I'll attach that. And now I'm just going to add my leaves all around my flowers. So I've got a bunch of leaves here, and I didn't add ink to the leaves. I just cut them out from 2 different colors of cardstock, just like I did the flower. So it's like a lighter and a darker green. And I'm just adding some glue to the edges and just placing them behind the flowers so it looks like they're coming out from behind and look pretty natural. Now, I just wanted to take a second to say sorry. I've been sick since January. And it's like every time I have to record a video, I'm very stuffy. So I'm so sorry if I sound a bit ridiculous and I'm not pronouncing stuff right. But hopefully you get the gist from watching this. If it's too much for you, just mute. Just mute. It's okay. I promise you I won't get offended. I would like you to watch the video because I think this card turned out so stunning, and I'd love for you guys to be able to create the same. So anyways, now that I've got my leaves all positioned where I'd like them, I'm adding the little white flowers that I used, and you can see as I add them, it's really creating a nice flower bunch, and it just adds a little extra something. If you just left it as is, I feel like, sometimes you make a card and you look at it and you think, no, there's something missing. I've got to add something. Sometimes I can never figure it out. I'll admit that. But for this one, I knew I had to add those little white flowers, and they're so pretty. Now, there are a whole bunch of them. You don't have to add all of them. You can just add a few, or you can layer them. A few of these little flowers, I did layer them because they are different sizes. They're not all one size. So that really works in your favor. Okay, so it seems like I can't hold the panel. Now that that's done, I can go ahead and add my bling. So I've mentioned this many times, and I will continue to mention it because I love bling. I love embellishments. I love jewels. I love all of this. So I have to mention that Scrappy Tails does now carry a bunch of beautiful embellishment packs there, and I love that it's a mix. So if you're buying these, there are some that have, just pearls or just gems, but there's some packs like these that have a nice mix. You get pearls in this mix, you get shiny gems, you get some of those snowflakes in it. This was, I think, released with the winter release, but you can see I'm using it for this card here, and you can pick and choose what you want to use. So if you just wanted to say try it out, just grab one of the mixes with a mix of different things like this, and I guarantee you'll be using it for more than one card, and it's definitely worth it. So go ahead and check out those embellishments in the shop. I do have a link below that will take you to the Scrappy Tails shop. Sorry. If you're looking for these in particular, I have all the products that I've used in this video linked in my blog, which is linked in the description below, so you can check that out there. So now that I've got that front panel complete, you can see I added some of the little gems in the flower centers and some pearls in the background. I'm going to move to the card inside. Now, I love adding just a little something to the card inside. I've got this tropical bird stamp set, which also came out last summer. And I'm taking one of the sentiments here, and I'm going to do some masking to stamp out this sentiment because I want to add some color to it. So I've got these extra flowers and little bits, which I want to add to the bottom corner on the inside of the card. Keep in mind, this is a 5x7 inch card base. And I've picked up my stamp and I'm going to mask it off. So I've masked off the printed portion. I'm adding some VersaFine Clair Warm Breeze ink just to the bottom half there. Remember to remove your washi tape, your mask. Otherwise, you're going to have a mess on your card. Clean off your stamp and then do the exact same thing, except this time you're going to mask off what you just stamped. I'm adding some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink to the printed portion. Remove the washi. Important. And then stamp that down. And that comes out so beautififully. I just love this look of the black and then the accent color for your sentiments. I think it's like a professional touch. So now let's finish off the inside of the card. We'll add those extra flowers that we didn't add to the front. I've got a leaf and then a couple more of the small white flowers. Now remember, we added a bunch of dimension. On the inside, you don't really have to worry about it being two-dimensional. So if those get a bit flattened up, no biggie. Now, as in the front, I'm adding 2 little gems to the center of those white flowers as well, just to keep that bling going and for the design on the front of the card to translate to the inside. And that's how that looks. Now all I have left to do is to attach the front panel. So I'm carefully just adding my tape runner here, and I'm just going to line this up and place it down. As I mentioned, this is an abnormal size card. I think it is about 6.25 by 4, no, by 4.5, maybe by 4 3/4, something like that. And that's my final card for you. So I hope that you've been inspired to create something similar yourself. This floral card I think is stunning, and I love taking bits and pieces from different sets or just accent pieces from one set to create cards like these. I really hope that you've liked my video today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Again, sorry about my voice, and I hope to see you again next time. Don't forget to check out the Scrappy Tails shop, and I'll see you again. Bye.